Delegates at the EFF Free State People's Assembly were locked in a plenary session earlier today. They will be electing new provincial leaders. Let's get the latest from our reporter Tumaole Mohlaoli, who joins us live from Bloemfontein and will help us make sense of the political dynamics in that province, especially for the economic freedom fighters. Tumaole.
Well, certainly a big process, the provincial People's Assembly, a process that gets renewal of the party's top leadership. So I'm going to give my colleague Ridumeti Ditinti an opportunity to give you a shot. You see there, people are actually standing outside the tent, and it suggests that the tent is quite full. We are told by officials of the party that over 500 delegates are here, and those delegates are here to talk about what the EFF's vision for the province is. We know that the Free State province has been facing a litany of challenges. Of course, the State Capture Commission and the arrest linked there, of course, very high profile. ANC former Secretary General Ismachashule, the former mayor of Mangaung, Oli Mohlaoli, and top businessmen, as well as other administrators from the Free State, in court linked to that graft and corruption. The EFF says that it will do differently. Let's find out from the EFF's Lian Matthys. What will the EFF do differently, and how does this process renew and reshape the party's vision?
Okay, correction. We've got over 630 delegates, so these are just the last part of the delegates that need to enter into the tent. Obviously, we check credentials, and this is why the EFF has a reputation of running the best provincial and regional people's assemblies. So just so South Africans know, if we can do that internally, imagine what we can do with South Africa. On the issue on how the leadership that is going to be nominated or elected here today, and we do that process of the provinces every 4 years, we must also not do selective state capture. And I can see Newzroom seems to be pushing this narrative here today about just ace as if we did not have a state capture before the Secretary General or former Secretary General of the ANC and stuff. State capture has always been here, and the biggest state capture is the questions that we must ask South Africans. How is it that we still have silence on Ramaphosa's Phala farm and there's been no movement over there? How is it that our Chief Justice ends up, he chairs a commission of state capture and then later he's appointed? Those are state capture questions that we must also just not ignore. So Newzroom, don't come and just throw shade. Yeah, let's also talk about the other side of state capture. There's not just one side. The ANC is a state capture, whichever side you are going on.
Yeah, and I don't think Newzroom Afrika is throwing shade. I think what we're trying to understand is how the process works here with the EFF's, People's Assembly. What would the EFF do differently? There's some critics who have pointed out that the EFF, many of the rank and file and many of the leadership are former ANC Youth League members. They left, of course, started the youth movement. But what will you do differently to win more votes beyond the youth bracket? We know that you did very well in the local government elections. On the national elections coming forward, are you going to build on the success?
Well, we always do, and we have seen a steady increase in eating into the voter base here in South Africa. Obviously 2024 is exactly what we will be doing. Here in Free State, we need to deal with the issue of racism very decisively, and which we have already shown even without us being in government. We need to deal with the issue of land expropriation without compensation, and very decisively. I mean, Free State is largely a farming community here as well, and also the plight of farm workers in Free State. I mean, it wasn't accidental that we had the murder of a farm manager or something down, and remember there was the whole outbreak, and we found all the land invaders or the descendants of land invaders go and disrupt and cause havoc on a whole police station, and we still don't know what has happened here. So we can see that Free State is still there has been no firm break into the hold of the apartheid here. And we have land invaders and descendants of land invaders still thinking that this country belongs to them. So the EFF will be dealing with that decisively.
And very quickly, before I let you go, what is the program looking like, and where are we in the program, and what is to be expected by those who are watching very closely?
Okay, so yesterday we did our registration process. Today we start the plenary process. Our Secretary General will be addressing the program. We will obviously do the credentials, which the plenary adopts and says, okay, these are the delegates. Remember, we've got delegates from almost every single ward here in South Africa. We have 2 delegates from each ward if they pass the process of a branch people's assembly. There has to be gender, so we always insist on having 1 woman and 1 man. So that's also something that South Africans must keep in mind when they vote for us in 2024, our commitment to gender equality. The chairperson of the province will do the political report. The secretary of the province will do the organizational report. We'll also have a treasurer's report, and then we'll go into the election of the top 5. That's done by an independent service provider. The plenary will also engage on those reports. We also break into commissions, and this is the most important part of our programs, where we have delegates who are representing their branches here to come and say what do they want to see happen here in their province in the next 4 years.
Leanne Matthys, thank you very much for speaking to us here on Newzroom Afrika. Of course, the EFF's Leanne Matthys giving us an overview, quite detailed, about the processes that's happening behind me in the tent. And now delegates are now engaging in that particular plenary sessions that will run throughout the day. And of course, the elective process, which is all important. And we will continue to give you those delegates and what they bring to the table as the day continues. And then, of course, the program spills over into tomorrow. And this will guide the EFF's program going, of course, towards the all-important national election. With that, it's back to you in the studio.
Tumaole Mohlaoli, spotting a number of trees being reflected from that tent there. So hopefully we'll catch you under the shade for our next crossing. Thank you very much for that update.